Look up at the night sky. What do you see? Stars, the moon. Maybe a satellite passing by. We're used to thinking of space as something distant, pristine, a place of new discoveries. But space is also a giant warehouse of history, a history of our triumphs and our failures. A history that sometimes comes back to remind us in the most unexpected ways. Right now, up there, high above us, an object is hurtling through the void at tremendous speed, created over half a century ago in a different era by a different country. It wasn't supposed to be here. Its path was supposed to lead to another planet, to the very definition of hell in our solar system, but fate had other plans. And now, after 50 years of falling endlessly, this object, this space-time capsule built to survive where nothing living could possibly exist, is coming back to Earth. And believe me, its return is nothing like a soft landing. What is this mysterious guest from the past? To understand that, let's rewind time, back to the year 1972, the height of the space race. The Soviet Union and the United States weren't just competing to land on the moon, but also to explore other planets. And in this race, the Soviet Union had a special focus: Venus. Venus, our closest neighbor, a beautiful bright star in the evening sky. But behind those thick clouds lies a true nightmare, a planet dominated by a runaway greenhouse effect where surface temperatures reach almost 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. And the atmospheric pressure is 90 times greater than Earth's. It's like being a kilometer deep underwater in the ocean. Despite these monstrous conditions, the Soviet Union set an incredibly ambitious goal, not just to fly by Venus, not just to orbit it, but to land on it, to send a craft that could survive that lethal surface. That's how the Venera program was born. It was a series of incredible, sometimes desperate missions that ultimately made the USSR the first, and for a long time the only country to get pictures and data directly from the surface of another planet. And our hero today, the probe we're talking about, it was part of that heroic yet dramatic history. It was built to be one of the triumphs of that program. 1972, June. A Molniya M rocket lifts off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome carrying an interplanetary station, and inside it, our probe. Its official name at the time was Venera. It was supposed to be headed for our neighboring planet, but space launches are incredibly complex processes where the slightest glitch can lead to disaster. And that's exactly what happened. A few minutes after launch, during the burn of one of the rocket's upper stages, there was a failure. What exactly went wrong? The technical reports of that era are shrouded in secrecy, but the bottom line is the stage didn't perform as needed. It didn't give the craft the velocity required to leave for Venus, and instead of flying to the furnace planet, the probe got stuck. It ended up in an elongated, unplanned elliptical orbit around Earth. A high orbit. Its furthest point was about 10,000 kilometers, or roughly 6,000 miles, away from us. And its closest was around 300 kilometers, or about 200 miles. It became a prisoner of our own planet. But in the Soviet Union, especially during the height of the Cold War, admitting failure wasn't an option. The space program was a showcase of technological superiority. Any setback was meticulously hidden. Failed launches just vanished from the official records, or as with our probe, they were given a new, nondescript name. Its mission to Venus was aborted before it even really began. So it was quickly, without much fanfare, renamed. From the proud Venera, it became Cosmos 482. Cosmos was basically a generic name for anything launched into space that didn't fit neatly into the main programs or had encountered problems. Just another satellite in Earth orbit. No failure to see here. No aborted mission to Venus. That's how the official story was written. And that brings us to the most interesting part, and the slightly unnerving part. Why is this seemingly forgotten Cosmos 482 drawing so much attention today, half a century later? Because when typical spacecraft come back from orbit, they enter the dense layers of the atmosphere and they burn up. They turn to dust or small, harmless fragments, but this probe, it's not typical. Remember what it was built for? To land on Venus, to survive conditions where the pressure is 90 times greater than Earth's. That required engineers to come up with incredible solutions. Its body isn't thin aluminum alloy, it's real armor. On the outside, a super thick steel shell. and on the inside, another sphere made of titanium alloy, designed to protect the fragile electronics and scientific instruments from the monstrous pressure and temperature of Venus. Essentially, it's a mini-submarine designed to dive, not into water, but into an atmosphere ocean of poisonous gases and sulfuric acid clouds. And now this submarine, this super durable, nearly indestructible capsule, is coming back. When a normal satellite enters the atmosphere, the friction with the air slows it down and heats it to thousands of degrees, and it disintegrates. But our probe, it was engineered to withstand forces and temperatures far higher than what it will encounter entering Earth's atmosphere. Its thick steel and titanium shell simply won't let it burn up completely. It won't break into safe fragments. It's coming back like a space cannonball, weighing in at about 500 kilograms or roughly 1,000 pounds. That's like dropping a small car made of solid metal from a great height, and it's going to hit the Earth at tremendous speed, by various estimates over 250 kilometers per hour or more than 150 miles per hour. Imagine the impact. The most unsettling aspect of this story is that we don't know exactly where that impact will happen. Predicting the precise landing spot of an object that's been uncontrolledly decaying from orbit for 50 years is nearly impossible. Even now, as it gets closer to Earth, scientists can only give a rough estimate. The best forecast at the moment is that it will land somewhere within a wide band bounded by 52 degrees north latitude and 52 degrees south latitude. 52 degrees north, that's roughly the latitude of London, Berlin, Warsaw, the southern regions of Canada and Russia. 52 degrees south, that's practically the very south of South America. Essentially, that's most of the inhabited world. Europe, Asia, Africa, both Americas, Australia. Billions of people live within that zone. Of course, predicting the exact point of impact down to the kilometer is impossible. It depends on a multitude of factors. The object's precise mass and shape, its rotation, the density of the atmosphere at different altitudes, which constantly changes due to solar activity. It's a true cosmic lottery. So, should we panic and run for cover? Thankfully, no. Despite the dramatic nature of the situation, the probability that this 1,000-pound space rock will hit exactly where you are is vanishingly small. Why? Look at our planet. Most of its surface is oceans, about 70%. The most likely scenario is that the probe will land somewhere in the middle of the ocean, scaring perhaps only a few passing whales. Even on land, Earth is vast. There are endless deserts, impassable forests, huge territories where the population density is virtually zero. The chance of the object hitting a major city, a residential building, yes, it exists, but it's so tiny it's within the margin of statistical error. You're far more likely to be hit by a brick falling off a roof than by this probe. But the very thought that something this tough and heavy, created in a different era, flew for 50 years and is now falling, and we can't say exactly where, it is, you have to admit, pretty mind-boggling. The only thing scientists will be able to do is give a precise prediction, only at the very last moment. When the object enters the denser layers of the atmosphere, its trajectory will become more predictable. But by then, there will only be about 20 minutes left until impact. 20 minutes. That's all the warning will get. Currently, based on calculations, the re-entry is expected to happen around May 10th. Of course, that date could shift slightly depending on numerous factors, but that's the best estimate we have. So maybe it's a reason to just look up at the sky these days? No. The story of Cosmos 482 is more than just a tale about an old probe. It's a metaphor for our space legacy. We launch thousands of objects into space, and not all of them work forever or deorbit safely. The problem of space debris is only getting worse, and who knows how many more surprises from the era of space exploration or even the Cold War are still floating up there, waiting for their moment to fall back to Earth. This probe was designed for science, but just imagine. What if up there in orbit there weren't just old probes, but something else? Created at the same time, with the same indestructible technology, but for entirely different purposes. What if it wasn't a probe from Venus, but a lost capsule designed to deliver not instruments, but a Cold War warhead, lost, forgotten, but still there? slowly falling, coming back after 50 years in space, and just as impervious to the atmosphere, falling somewhere and we don't know where. This story isn't a reason to panic, it's a reason to think about the past, about the present, and about how space, which we're so eager to conquer, still holds its secrets. And sometimes those secrets fall right onto our heads. What do you think about this story, about space debris, about the Cold War legacy in space? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this interesting, if you learned something new, or it made you think, give this video a like. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new, equally fascinating stories from the world of science, technology, and space.
Thanks for watching, and keep your head up, but keep an eye on the sky.